Hello, and welcome to the Aakash and Friends podcast. We're here again, as we are every week with another episode. Today we have somebody very special because this is not a friend directly. This is a friend through, and it's also the first, I think, foreign passport holder who we have on this. Do you still have a foreign passport? I don't.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
great. So she has a foreign passport, guys. Please welcome a good future friend. I know for this for a fact already. Lucy Peters. Thank you so much for being on, man.
You're so welcome. You're so
Uh,
welcome.
it's great to have you. It's so interesting. I've been watching this. It was funny, but I had to prepare for this, and there's not much about you on the internet.
No,
Uh,
nothing.
yeah, and because of that, I just resigned myself to watching Australian sitcoms, and
You probably know more than me. I think I've only watched like one.
I've only seen the one, to be honest as well. But I saw
Which
all
one?
5 seasons. It's called Rake. Have you heard of it?
Oh, I think I have, but I haven't watched it.
It's about a lawyer who's just it's the show I always wanted to write, but with an Australian accent.
Is it any good? Because some can be a bit hit and miss.
It's okay. It's brash.
Yeah,
That's what I expect out of Australia. I expected to curse at me while I'm batting.
yeah. Fair enough.
But hey, what an interesting place in the space time to catch you, because
Hmm.
everything I know about you, I know from Shashwat, and based on what I know about you, somebody who grew up in a is your entire okay. Firstly, let's
Hmm.
start there. Let's start with who you are and what you do. I think that is important. Okay.
All
So,
right.
okay. So, as everybody here, if you're watching this, you know her name is Lucy. And what Lucy does is
Yes.
that she runs Peter. She doesn't run Peter Cat Cover. This is she runs
Yeah.
Pagal Haina with her husband Dhruv.
Yeah, that's correct.
And if you don't know what Pagal Haina Records is, it is one of the best indie labels in the country right now. You have all the best. As we
Hmm.
record this, you have like the creme de la creme of the scene, right? You have
We do.
everybody great. You just signed F16s also, which is just
Yeah.
oof.
We're really lucky. We're really lucky.
And you also
Yeah.
signed my little brother in a sense, Shashwat. So it's just
Yeah.
it's great. All and it's I was so happy when y'all approached him because I was like, oh, finally, the young man will get the due what is due.
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean, with Bulu, it happened like quite organically. I think he even shared in his episode, right? That
yeah,
it happened that we were doing a gig. Krishna was a sound engineer. He was mixing his music and he just played it to test the speakers. And we were all like, Dhruv specifically was like, wait, who is this guy?
yeah,
And then with Bulu, you check out his SoundCloud and he's just got so much talent. It's
yeah.
just like, so yeah, so we love the fact that he's part of our family. And he's a lawyer and he's working with us, as a
Yeah, it's so
lawyer as
great, no?
well. He's so cool, man. Like he's just doing his thing. So but yeah, so I run Pagal Haina with Dhruv. I manage a couple of the artists. And yeah, I guess that's the core focus as of now.
Where did life start? What state of Australia? Did you
Sydney.
know that? Okay, of course you knew this,
Hmm.
but you would know you're from Australia. But I didn't know that all the cities in Australia are on the southern coast, like all the major
Yeah, I
cities.
guess so. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm really bad with that type of stuff.
Oh
But
no.
yeah,
Okay, but Sydney is great. I know Sydney. Sydney has the Opera House
yeah,
and also the Sydney Cricket Ground, which
hmm.
is where Bumrah bowled one of the best balls in Test ball history. That's
Amazing,
that's the thing. No, my knowledge of geography is very cricket and
Taste.
comedy.
Amazing. Yeah, cricket is something that like I now like support the Indian cricket team. So there's been moments at home when like India's playing Australia, and my
Yeah.
mom's like, "What happened to you?" Because like I only learned about cricket in India, So then
Ah.
and through Dhruv, and so like I feel like I know like half the cricket team, like their
Oh yeah,
personal
Dhruv
lives
is
and
huge on it
details.
as well, no?
He's huge on it.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I feel you.
And you went to your family. You have a
Mm.
butcher shop.
Yeah, how do you know that?
I do little bit research.
Yay! Yeah, we do. We do. I worked in the shop. My dad has owned it for quite a while. So I have Greek heritage. So my not all my grandparents, my great grandparents, and one of my grandfathers migrated, and the rest were born in Australia. And like they came from a small island in Greece where there was like 2,000. Well, at the
Oh,
moment, there's
wow.
like 2,000 people there. There was more obviously, when they were there. But they were just very simple, like trades, labor. A lot of them worked on boats. And my dad was actually like an artist, a really good visual artist, but at the time got selected to like a good art school, but it wasn't really accepted. So the Greek culture is very similar to the Indian culture.
Okay.
Right? Like my grandparents were arranged.
Right.
It's quite traditional. There's a lot of similarities. And so, yeah, but anyway, so my dad ended up giving up his art stuff, and his cousin was, working and running butcher shops, and they partnered. And anyway, yeah, butcher
No,
shops.
it's okay. You can go as much into it as you want. It's completely
But
fine.
yeah, but I feel like I got a lot of my work ethic, my leadership skills, a lot of who I am came from my father and working in that shop with him.
Right.
He really inspired people, but he had high expectations because he just saw your potential and he would force you to meet it. He knew that you could. He didn't ever doubt it. So then if you weren't meeting it, he would be pissed. He was a bit hardcore, but like someone would come in shorts. He would come 2 hours on a train for an interview in like shorts. And my dad's like, you're here in shorts. Like you can't work in a butcher shop in shorts. Like you're serving meat. No one wants to see your hairy legs. It's like it's a horrible like association. And then the guy's like, well, I don't have pants and I live like two hours away. He's like, I don't care. Go home, get pants, come back. Like he'd never shy of effort. He would work harder than everybody else and set the example. So a lot of the foundational things that like I feel like came from that experience in him.
That's awesome. That's I find that really interesting because a lot of the people I talk to, work ethic comes from crafts people. You know what I mean? If that makes any sense.
Yeah, for sure.
Like butchering is a craft, right? Like you need to know the meat. There's an art to it. There's
it's an art. Exactly. And if you see our butcher shop in Australia, like it's quite a good one. But it's like the display, and now my brother is working there. It's like I am blown away every time I see the display. I'm like, this is art. Like they take such pride in what they do. It's insane. So it's like whatever you do, it doesn't matter what you do, whatever you do, it can have that level of effort. It can be your expression. And I think if it's done from that space sincerely, that's why it has done so well and it continues to do so well, because that's what it's about for them. It's not just about meat.
Right. Yeah, of course. And I think it's when you can tell certain people are fit for the role, because there are some of us who love creativity with certain restrictions. That's what makes it exciting, because you have to create, but you can't do this and you can't do that, and no, you can't cut that because fat doesn't cut that way. That joke doesn't work that way structurally. You're not allowed to do that. And I think that's what gets me. I mean, I'm also very obsessed with it for that reason, because otherwise, I've probably said this analogy 50 times on this podcast, even though we've done less than 50 episodes. But it's like pottery versus painting. I find pottery far more fascinating than painting, because a painting can be anything and it can be anywhere. You can make it with anything. But with pottery, it better hold water, because if it doesn't hold water, it's not a pot. It could be shaped like anything. It could look like anything, but there's a function that precedes everything else, which I find super fascinating.
True. Yeah.
But so
well, that's nice. Yeah.
Thank you. Haha. What is it like growing up in Australia? Is it a lot of sports? Did you play 4 sports? Be honest.
Yeah. So I went to a school that was it was a pretty great school. So like you had to try everything and then you got to pick what you wanted to do. So language, sports, music. I played the French horn. I mainly played netball. Netball was my sport of choice.
What is this sport?
Netball.
Netball. Is
netball.
It the one like lacrosse? Is it the one with the stick and the net in it?
No. Netball. Netball is like it's not like basketball at all. It's literally but it is like in the sense that you have a ball and you put it in a net.
Okay.
But you can't move with the ball. Like you have to put it
Okay.
You can't dribble. So netball was the one that I kind of played for the longest amount of time. Athletics, I tried. Gym, I tried. Basketball, I tried like once, but then I was so used to netball that they threw me the ball and I didn't move. And my brother was like, move, like go somewhere. And I just froze. And I'm like, okay, I'm not doing this. This is not for me. Swimming. I mean, Australia is a beach culture. There's water bodies everywhere. You're like thrown into the pool when you're like 6 months old and like just learn how to paddle.
Yeah.
So, but we also did swimming, and I used to hate the swimming drills. Like you go to those school pools and there's like hundreds of kids in the pool, and there's like
your school had a pool, bro. That in itself.
I know. Had a pool. But I remember once, I was very, very lucky. But storming.
No, all that you don't have to worry about acknowledging privilege here. Fuck off. It's okay.
So I remember once I was in like my swimsuit with like my swimming cap on, and I just didn't want to do swim drills. And I walked out on the road like that. Like I was marching away from my school, and I stood like on the top of this hill on a main road. And one of my friends walked past and she saw me standing there with like my cap on in my like swimsuit. She's like, what the fuck are you doing here? Sorry, I shouldn't swear, but
you can swear.
I can swear?
You
Fine, cool. So
light a cigarette, bro. It's cool. Like
cool, sweet. So she's like, what are you doing here? And I'm just like, not swimming. So no, sports big, but more like for our family it was swimming. Like if it's sunny on the weekend, we're out like swimming. As a teenager, you go to the beach. It's an outdoor culture. You're in parks, you're outside. It's that kind of vibe, which is obviously very different to Delhi, So,
and generally India,
I love it. Even when the weather's beautiful, it's like people only come out once the sun's set.
Yeah.
It's like the scare of summer has made everyone conditioned to be like, okay, if there is light, we are inside.
Yeah.
And then once it's dark, we come out. And so like I normally walk at that sunset mark where there's like nobody outside, there's a breeze, the sun's setting, and I'm like, yeah, this is cool.
Yeah. What did you study out of school? Did you study in Australia? Did you move around?
Yeah, so I did. So I originally had no idea what I wanted to do. So like I enrolled in a university course called Management in Leisure.
What does that mean?
I don't even know. I do not even know. But like they had like, I guess like event management classes as part of it. Okay. I had done so much theatre in school. I loved theatre. I loved that expression. I was really I was first AD on some theatre productions as well. I really enjoyed that space, and I was really good at like production and producing and organizing. So I thought, maybe event management. I had no idea. And then after a year, it was just so boring. So dropped out. And then I thought film production. And so I enrolled in a private film school that was more prac than theory, which was wonderful. And I did a couple of years in a film school where we got to shoot on film cameras, like 16 millimeter cameras. And that's where I met Dhruv. That's where he came to do that course. And first year of that course is where we met. And that was 13 years ago.
Oh, wow. And wait, you started dating then only? It's been 13 years?
Yeah, it's been 13 years. Yeah. Oof. We actually got married like a month and a half ago.
That's a good move.
That's a good move, right? Like
good
13
move.
years.
You take your time, girl. Yeah. You don't tie yourself down. No, this is called a bunker, not a foundation.
True, yeah. So it's like, that's where we met. And I absolutely loved that experience. So to give you context, my school was like kind of an all girls, predominantly white, upper class type of school, right? I had great friends who were really open people, and I had my own experience. My parents always raised me to be considerate and open and giving. And, they were never like, if you would say anything slightly rude or arrogant, they would just put you in your place.
Right.
But I felt like I really felt like I was in such a bubble. And I remember in that year of transition, I was like, there's got to be more, right? Like everyone has this question always.
Yeah.
There's got to be more. It's the standard question when you're in that phase of discovering who you are. And then in this private film school, there was only 2 Australians. There was Indians, people from Estonia, from Israel, from Africa, from Mexico, people from 18 to like 45. And I was just like, yay, this is cool. And so like got to meet people from like so many different walks of life, hear their stories, co-create their stories through film. See people who were just so passionate about like cinematography or sound design or whatever. It was just beautiful. And then also I started dating Dhruv, and that was a really like, you know, an experience that really opened things up for me too. So I loved that experience a lot.
I think it's the right time also to meet people, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
I was just the other day talking to a friend of mine about this. Like, you know, when you're a kid, it's so much easier to make friends than when you're an adult.
True, that is true.
When you're a kid, everybody who lives in a physical proximity to you is a friend. It doesn't really matter because you're not really fully formed. You don't have things you don't like yet.
Yeah, true. Less conscious as well.
Yeah, and I think that university environment is the best place to actually meet people. I'm envious of anybody who actually had a college life. I used to just I was working and studying throughout college. Like not even the law school stuff. I was studying audio engineering and doing comedy and working on.
So you did law school stuff as well. I didn't know this.
Yeah, I did law. I graduated in law, but I also did a diploma in audio engineering.
Oh wow, okay. But you didn't have a college life?
No, I didn't do shit, dude. I didn't do any of the college stuff. I was working only. I was very happy working.
Yeah.
So I mean, I feel like but it must have also been a culture shock, right? Because now suddenly you're exposed to all these people, or is generally Australia culturally? Because from what I see, at least on the one TV show that I've seen, there's there's a lot of migration, especially from the southeast of Asia. So I mean, that must be a pretty cosmopolitan place.
Yeah, so it is diverse for sure. Like there is, a lot of diversity, but then you can see diversity, but whether you actually get to know it, you know what I mean? Like it's very different when these people become, and you have an intimate relationship with them, I think like there is a lot of diversity. So, but it's still like, you have to also choose to engage in it. And I think, for me, it wasn't a culture shock, but it was an opening, I think I was already I was already open to wanting to hear a different perspective because I wanted to change my own.
Yeah.
So I already had that space within me. And I think it was just lovely to meet these people who were open to sharing, and I wanted to hear it. And it is really, really different. And at that time, I probably didn't know what I was looking for. So I couldn't even seek it, but I ended up in that space. And I guess, it really shaped me, but then also like living in India has shaped me. My relationship with Dhruv has shaped me. The work that we've done, like every experience has. Yeah.
But it's interesting because when you meet someone at that point in your life, which is like a very heavily, it's like, I describe it like having a how they have those grills around the plants, on the street. I don't know if you've seen those.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. Like, I mean, everybody has one. Like, it's all of your things in life make that grill, and when you get into a committed relationship at that age, then you're adding another stick in that grill in some sense.
Yeah, I think so. That's true. I think the benefit, like not the benefit, but like, so Dhruv and I, we started dating like maybe halfway through that year. And then so after 6 months, I did 2 years of the course, he did 1. So after 6 months of dating, he went back to India. And I was 19. So at the time I was like, we're obviously going to break up because like, what are we going to do here? Like I'm 19. But then we didn't end up.
How much age gap do you have?
4 years.
Okay.
So he was young too. He was 23 at the time. So, but then we ended up staying together. So we did 1 year long distance, and that was probably like the biggest and most like formative year of my whole life. Because it wasn't just a long distance. So at the time, my parents weren't, I had the experience of my family not supporting the relationship.
Right.
So you would expect it from maybe, well, that's maybe a stereotypical assumption, but you might have expected it from the Indian side.
Oh, yeah, of course. But I mean, it would be stereotypical of me to say Australia also. I mean, you know, Australia is not known as the most racially cultured people.
It's true. They are. They're racist. Sure. They are. I agree. And they are. And so, yeah, and I think it was just like, for them, it was, I think, originally, like I was so young and I was committing to this guy in India at 19. And you know,
he's older. And
he's just far away and he's from a foreign land. And what do we know about India?
Yeah.
And so they also like, there was a lot of tension and ultimatums and things like that. And we were long distance and I was in school. But that's when I started... So I was at my dad's butcher shop working, and one of the older ladies there who was really sweet, she was like, maybe you should try meditation or something. No joke. Like a few hours later, like a monk from a local meditation center came and said, can I leave some flyers on the counter? And it was for this meditation center. So I started going, and it was a Buddhist-based meditation community, and I went twice a week, and then I started reading this book that like I swear by. And so it was a year of just kind of understanding myself, my mind. Right. It gave me the ability to like not be angry, to not reject my situation, to not reject my parents, to not reject Dhruv, to be present, to be open, to figure out who I was. So I feel like instead of having, like you said, the plant with that grill, it wasn't, it ended up being a year where it was kind of like, again, more and more opening. Yeah. And that came through me having that space, me having that challenge and whatever the way I figured out how to deal with it through my experiences. So
it makes it sound like it's a flow state.
What?
A flow state, you know, like when you're in the zone, but for a whole year.
For a whole year. Yeah, I literally like, and I think because of the solitude, like when you, it's just you can just completely like put your energy into something. And my energy was like, I was working so hard. I was in college in my final year doing like all of these films. I was working at my dad's shop on the side to save money. I was doing internships in film and doing freelance work in film. But I felt light. But I felt light because my core focus was my state of mind, understanding I had a choice about how I felt, what thoughts I engaged with, that I could separate myself from my thoughts, that other people's suffering wasn't my own, that I could have compassion for their suffering without carrying it, that I could choose love and choose both sides, and that no one's opinion really makes a difference to who I am. So it was like living and breathing all of these things and trying to be present in the moment. So it was a really like big year for me that kind of laid the foundation of how I live now and I continue to want to like build upon. So I really appreciate all of the challenges and everything that happened.
What are some of the books you were reading at this time? That you now swear by?
Yeah, A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle. Have you heard of it?
No, but I'm going to make a list.
It is like literally like if I read you a part of it, I've got it in the other room, but it's like if you read it now with the pandemic, with the political climate in India and around the world, it pretty much talks about what we're seeing is a manifestation of human delusion. Right? Which is just suffering in an external form. Right? And so it's actually like, even though it was written like 10 years ago, it is so relevant. You read it now about how the media creates more, everything. It's just so relevant always. But I guess it's the fundamental human condition. It's always going to be relevant.
What other book is on this?
So that was the main one, actually.
Okay.
Like I read that for like 8 months. Like I studied it.
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense.
Yeah. Then I read Shantaram because I wanted to immerse myself in like India and before I ended up coming here.
The thing is, though, it's very interesting to me that people read Shantaram to get immersed in India, whereas you're actually getting immersed into Bombay.
Yeah, that's true. Totally true.
Which is good only. You should also, because the city will be gone soon, So,
yeah, it's true. It's just he wrote that so well. Like it was just like it was beautiful. Like you could visually see yourself in those spaces.
Yeah, and growing up around them, it was like a whole treat to read that book. Because you could you felt like you were in on the secret menu that the city had to offer almost.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think based on my sources, you came to meet Dhruv here, and then you really liked the place, and then you really liked the place. You liked the place so much that you gave up first world amenities to come here permanently. What did you see? What? Because I desperately look at people outside who moved here to remind me what's so great about this place.
Yeah. I guess like it goes back to everything I've been saying. I think I want to grow as a human being, and part of that is I want to challenge my conditioning. Right? I don't always, even my newfound conditioning that I have now from India. So I feel like when I came here, everything that I thought was true, so everything I knew to be true, was challenged.
Yeah.
Right? Like you don't stop at a red light. There are cows on the road. Efficiency at a, restaurant or, people can speak their minds. It's okay. It's not rude. It might be really little, but everything that I thought was my truth based on my bubble and my upbringing. Safety is something that's just safety, for example. I never, 15 drunk in a cab, passing out, please take me home. I never, ever, ever once growing up thought, am I safe?
Right.
Never.
Yeah.
Ever. I was just like, yeah, I'm safe. And then so everything was challenged. But I like that because what's the point of just staying still in one place and not growing and evolving? We live in a world where there's so many different experiences. So why not have them? And why not challenge what you think is true and be open to more? I mean, that's what I loved. I found it freeing because, it was like there's more. So that's what I really loved about it. And I guess I came here first for a holiday that ended up getting extended for 7-8 months. And then we went to Australia for a few years again, and we worked and lived there. And then we decided.
What did you do when you were in Australia?
I worked in film. So I worked I was a producer, but then I also worked in distribution and marketing. And at the time when I went into distribution and marketing, I was always like, oh, how is this going to serve me? Maybe I should get back into production and producing. But I was working with a colleague who also was a producer, but had started this distribution company, who's now my mentor and my dear friend, because he was an incredible person. And we always got more excited when we worked on films that had a social impact. So we did film campaigns for one was about Vietnamese refugees, one was about human trafficking, one was about Chinese orphans and things. And we would get really excited and figure out unique campaigns and release strategies and everything. But now I work, in this label where the whole thing is you're not only working on producing events and content, but then how are you going to distribute and market them? Yeah. So all of that experience, you always end up using it at some point. So I was doing that. Yeah, I was doing that.
And I got, but then, so how, why did you come back? You're not supposed to come back.
Yeah. So I don't know, so I always said that I wanted, after the first trip, I was like, okay, I want to come back and live here. I want to do a lot longer.
What was the first 8 months? What all you saw? You came to Mumbai?
We came to Bombay. So Dhruv's sister was living there at the time. So we went and saw her, and we did Bombay. We did Goa. We did, Dhruv's cousin lives he runs a beautiful Buddhist center in Bir in Himachal.
Ooh,
we went
very
there
nice.
for a month, and I was teaching English. Dhruv was doing some film editing for him. We went to Shimla, we went to Jaipur, we went to Amritsar. We did a few more places in Himachal.
I hope you're going to do a south tour sometime. Not a lot
Yeah,
of,
I know.
the east and the south is little, not a lot of Gujarat also, I'm hearing.
Yeah, I haven't. I've been to Baroda now, but that was like my first time to Gujarat. And then I think we did Bangalore, I think, at some, but yeah, but we didn't do much more
Bangalore
south.
not worth seeing.
It's a city.
It's just a city. It's, that's why Bangalore is the best place for comedy in India, because everyone's just so soul sucked and sad.
Oh,
That
really?
they always
You
buy
think that?
tickets. Yeah, absolutely. And see, I mean, low cost of living. Most people work for MNCs, so they make good money.
Yeah.
And they're so depressed. They're so dead inside
Oh, no,
that they
that's
need
horrible.
to hear bad jokes from me.
Yeah, fair enough. I need to laugh.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
So that was the first trip, and then you wanted to come back, and I'm going to say check out the rest of South India. And
Yeah, sure.
and that turned into, or was it like a conscious thing of no, we're moving back, we're definitely
No,
moving back.
so basically, in those few years we were in Australia, I was working in film. Dhruv was freelancing in film as well, but he was also beginning Pagal Haina. So he had reached out to a few artists. He had started managing like Pratik and another artist, Kunal Datta, and we were doing bits and bobs from there, and he was flying back. But it was like, I wasn't sure what he was doing really. Like, I was just like, is he experimenting? Is he like, it was just, I was aware that, like I would help him, send out press releases or put, like, I remember being in my office for my film distributor and creating the artwork for Pratik's first EP that came out. Like, we were doing it together on the computer. So we were doing these things, but I wasn't sure where it was going. And he would spend hours reading, like just reading. I'm like, what is this guy reading? And listening and reading. But what I realize now is that was him building the foundation for what he wanted Pagal Haina to be. That was him really reading. He doesn't have like a degree in music business or anything, but that was him learning what's happening, how are people doing things. And I think I had left my distribution job 6 months earlier because I wanted to find something a little bit more meaningful. I had been in the job for, I think, 3-4 years, and I didn't feel like it was going anywhere. And then I just did a 6-month stint with a not-for-profit, which was about diversity education in Australia. There you go. And then, so
I always find the idea very funny of diversity education.
Yeah.
Look, he is darker than you. Hey, that's how I imagine. It's a bunch of kids in a line and a professor just going, look, stand by shade.
It is like that. No, because like literally, like what they would do is they would get like a indigenous Australian, then they would get like a white, Australian, and then like maybe people from different backgrounds, and then they would ask the kids, like, who do you think is the Australian in this group? Majority would pick the white person.
Yeah.
But then in indigenous communities, they would pick the brown person or so yeah, it is literally like people standing in the line pointing. But a little bit more than that, we launched a resource we got some resources put into the curriculum, into the Australian curriculum, which we launched so that teachers could be more informed. Because, for example, like a lot of islanders it's rude to look elders in the eye. Right.
Okay.
So for teachers, they will be like, look me in the eye, stop being rude. But for them, that's their culture,
Right.
So it was a lot of different layers. Anyway, but yeah, so I did that. And so I was in between kind of jobs, wanting to kind of find something a bit more meaningful. I had also done some work with an orchestra in Australia. A film producer of mine launched an orchestra. So she brought me on board, and I did a few seasons with them. And help them with
here
that.
you were the tour manager, or were you the?
So I was. Yeah, I guess I was.
Lady Friday, everything. You did.
Yeah, basically. For the ones in Australia, especially the first couple of years, yes, most definitely. And then that orchestra ended up touring India many years later, and then I became the Indian tour manager.
Is it? Because I mean, the economics of an orchestra in India, they seem impossible. Like it sounds impossible to maintain an orchestra where everybody gets paid well and has a nice.
Yeah, it is.
How different is it in Australia?
So basically, with the orchestra that we worked with, it isn't like a regular orchestra group. So it's not like the Sydney Symphonic. It's the Australian World Orchestra, and that's what makes it special. So there's a lot of Australian musicians. They play in some of the best orchestras around the world. So Berlin Phil, Vienna Phil, all around the world. And then Australia doesn't get the chance really to hear them.
Right.
Because they're all overseas, Australia's best. So the goal was, when it first started, and it still is, let's get Australia's best from all around the world together back home with a world-class conductor and perform once a year for Australia.
And do like a 3-month tour or whatever, like a 2-month tour.
Oh, like in some instances, it was just like a Sydney, Melbourne, like 2-3 show type scenario. And then it built into tour. So on one of those, and it was magical because a lot of these are the best, right?
Yeah.
And around the world. And then they were all coming home and everyone can be proud and whatnot. And then one of the conductors in Australia was Kuchbhimehta. So he conducted them in Australia. And then he's like, this orchestra is amazing.
Yeah.
I want to bring them to India. And that's when they toured India. And we did five concerts on the first tour. And so I was the India tour manager for that. And then they came back under a different conductor 2 years ago, and that was another tour. So I had done the Australian part of that at the time we were referring to, and I was in between jobs, and then Dhruv was like, okay, I want to do this full time now. I think there's enough potential in what we're doing. I want to move back, and I'm like, yeah, cool. Let's just go back and do it. So that's what happened. Yeah.
And that's such a great poise for the end of the first half of this episode. You literally left it on a cliffhanger. Like, oh, what happens next? What will happen? What will happen? Okay, we're going to take a quick break. On the other half, we will be back. In the meanwhile, hey, thank you, AMF patrons, for patroning this podcast. We are almost done with season 1. Thank you for helping out. Season 2 is figuring out, since it is happening, I am figuring out how to say words. But season 2 will happen and we'll figure out how to fund it. That's how we're going to do this. See you in the second half with Lucy Peters. Welcome back. Second half AMF with Lucy Peters. It is me, AM, and this is the F. Hello. Welcome back. I hope you had a good break. I knew you would take a break because you were drinking water at a rate that I've seen.
And I'm drinking less because we're doing this. I drink so much water. My grandma actually, I think I get it from her. She felt like in her past life, she died of dehydration. And so she just constantly drinks water. So I don't know. I drink water and drink a ton of tea. So yeah.
Oh, that's nice. But I need to, I have oral fixation scenes. So I need to keep drinking water. Or coffee, or water or coffee. And it's preferable something warm.
Yeah, fair enough.
Before shows, I will take boiling hot water and put Old Monk in it so that the alcohol evaporates and then I get the warm, just the warmth of it. Nice. Oh, but those days are so far behind now.
Aren't you doing shows this weekend?
Not at places where I will have alcohol, firstly.
Oh, okay.
Plus, I'm driving myself everywhere now, so no chance of drinking.
Oh, yeah, fair enough. Makes sense.
Unless I find a place to stay. But earlier, I know you must have been to Habitat by now. It has a hotel room in it.
I haven't been there.
Oh.
Yeah, but I know of it. Yeah.
Gorgeous place. So it has a hotel above it. So what I used to do is every month I would take one Thursday whenever I would have a spot there, and I would book a room. And I would tell everyone I'm out of town or whatever the hell. And then I would do the show. And then I would go up and I would chill in my room right above.
Nice.
It was the best.
Yeah, that's so good.
Ridiculous efforts to not live with your family is what it is.
Yeah.
So anyway, we had just moved to India to start this indie record label.
And artist development agency.
And an artist development agency.
So we see ourselves more working in artist development than So
Which is, I
label,
think, a fair
yeah,
statement, because I've seen
yeah,
how much Shashwat has developed with you all over the last year and a half, 2 years now, 2 years now.
yeah, I think so. Yeah,
Wow.
I
Yeah.
know. Quickly, it's gone so quick.
And it's
Yeah.
grown so much. Like, it's just nice to hear him call me and be like, Akash, this is what you need to do about your career now. And I'm like, hey,
Amazing.
thanks. I
I
was
love
waiting
it.
for this.
Yeah.
But it must be I mean, is it scary going into this? I know you don't sound like the kind of person who who finds
Mm.
these things daunting as such. Uh,
Not really. I think for me, the main thing was like at the beginning, it wasn't like I was a full-time participant in Pagal Haina. Like it was more like it was still like what is Dhruv up to. So we came back and I was kind of just like the support. So as he was going through it and figuring it out, and I was then figuring out, okay, what's my place in all of this, and what am I up to, and coming to India, I had to let go of a lot of 9 to 5 job, finding a 9 to 5 job, like fitting in, like those things that you do in Australia that you're told you have to do. But it gave me, again, this thing of space that I keep saying, space to kind of find out what my expression was, and then how do I apply that expression to Pagal Haina. So I was always a part of it, but it was still very much Dhruv's vision and Dhruv figuring out what he wanted to do with it. But I never was scared. I was never nervous. I was never apprehensive. And I think that's because I think I had faith in myself and in a certain grounding. And that year that I told you about where I had found a lot of that.
Yeah.
But also Dhruv wasn't either. He's a risk taker. He's fine with taking risk because he has an instinct that he is so tuned in like aligned with that he just knows, and it's amazing to be around someone who just has that capability where he can just be like, I can't explain to you why I know this, but I know this. And we should be doing this, or we shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah.
And not giving a shit about what the risks are, but just going for it 110%.
Yeah.
And that also, when you work with someone like that, that gives you immense confidence. You need someone to lead with a vision, and one it's coming from a deeper place of understanding and instinct that this is what's going to work for us.
Right.
And I think that's a culmination of all of his experiences, plus just 2 years. People speak to him and they're like, who is this kid? Or who is this guy? Because he's just so certain of certain things, and also his parents raised him that way. They were like, I'm going to guide you, but I'm not going to make decisions for you. Like his father, he could always talk to his father about anything without judgment. Right. And his dad would maybe say, okay, this is what I feel, but ultimately you have to go out and make that decision. Or if this is what you want to do, I support you 110%. So he had an environment that kind of enabled him to nurture those instincts. And we also had the support of his family when starting this. We were living with them. They were like, yeah, you guys go do your thing. They were like, even my family, by that point, they had come around and they were, they always just want my happiness. So, they were very supportive. So I guess when you have that, you just roll with it.
But it's interesting to me because, on some level, this is you being sold on somebody's vision.
Yeah, it is. Totally.
And then it's a conscious decision then to work towards someone, which to me, and maybe, now my agent's words are coming back to me after 2 episodes since of her episode. But, I think I'm too self-centered to ever be sold on someone else's vision.
Yeah. But I think we all have a place, right? So for many years, I was like, what is my vision? Right? And if I ultimately tell you what my goal is in life, it's my first priority is to grow as a human being, is to evolve, is to develop myself.
Same pinch.
Yeah. And whatever I used to be very separate things. Like this is my work and this is my path, right? And it's when I work, I'm disconnected from my path and I would hate it. And then I was like, do I have to be a meditation or spiritual coach for my path to be my work?
Yeah.
But then I realized, fuck that shit.
Yeah.
I am who I am, and I can bring that to anything. What I bring to Pagal Haina is like, how can I support the artists and the team and Dhruv in finding their expression?
Right.
How can I give them the space, that space that I'm talking about for
Yeah.
their opening? Because ultimately that's what art is, right?
Yeah.
And if you can express your art or create art from a space that's deeper, right? From a space of truth or a space of consciousness, the audience member, when they hear it, connect to that space within themselves.
Right.
And that's when it's elevated. Like in comedy, an example, Dave Chappelle, I would say,
Yeah.
right? When he performs or his work, there's a whole other level of awareness
Yeah. Yeah.
from where that's coming from.
Yeah.
And that's when it goes the extra mile. So I always thought, like, what is my purpose? What is my role? Stuff. And I realized that I am a supporter. That's my asset,
Right.
right? Is that and you need those people, because you can't ultimately do it without those people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I take pride in it. So I guess, like, yeah, like you said, like I still have my own expression within Pagal Haina, but it is Dhruv's vision. Yeah.
Yeah. And how does that, I mean, how does it manifest itself in ways now? Yeah, I mean, I get to see it up close with what's happening in Shashwat's life.
Yeah.
But for people who are listening to this, how does that vision kind of manifest itself in the form of a company? What are some of, you know what I mean? If that makes sense as a question.
No, like, what do you mean?
Like,
Like Dhruv's vision, or what I'm saying, or
both.
both?
Yeah, because I mean, it's like with Lasun Life, for example, my company, our vision was to curate live events that fill a certain gap in the ecosystem, something that audiences need, something that that comics also need just as much as audiences do, which is why I think our properties are usually successful.
Yeah. Okay.
So and then similarly later on, as time went by, it became like, okay, now Lasun has to become an extension of everything I do, where it becomes also my de facto production house, also my de facto artist management agency for the comics we work with,
Okay.
and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And it manifests itself in certain ways. For example, like we have a way in which we'll pick new properties.
Yeah.
If I want to do a new property, then there's a checklist. Like, does it serve a purpose on a higher level? Does it do this? So I mean, just does it manifest itself in ways like that for Pagal Haina, in terms of how you work with artists, or how you
For sure. I think, like, yeah, I guess it's hard to explain, because it's not something, again, it's all run by instinct, right? So it's not something that we can say, this is the formula for how we work with artists, or this is the formula for how we select the artists that we work with. But I guess what we can say is that, like, Dhruv is very much like, he will look at the music and the art and the people, and he'll see the potential before anyone can see the potential in it, right? He will use his instincts for that. And then I guess where I come in is the human side of all of this, right? Which gets completely overlooked in the arts. It gets completely overlooked in the artist-manager relationship. It's a hard relationship.
Yeah.
It's fucking hard.
I know.
Because it's like, it's really intense, right? It's like, you're there day to day,
Yeah.
with each other, and you're constantly, it's so personal, yet you're trying to make it professional.
And it's professional, yeah. And there's this weird power dynamic.
It's so weird. There is a massive divide, at least in the music industry, between art and business. It's like, artists are like, this is the value of the art I've created. But do you know the value of the business?
Right.
Do you actually understand what goes into it?
Yeah.
You act like you're equals, but you're really not, because there's no equal ownership in anything.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's a very, very tricky thing. And I also feel like, as a manager for an artist, your job is not only to do business, but it's like, how can you help that artist have an honest expression? How can you help that artist find that space within themselves?
Yeah.
How can we protect them? we defend them, we argue for them, we put them in a bubble so that they can find their truth and work on their art and express it. So this is what I love about the role, and I feel like this has translated in the work that we are doing, and it has shaped our culture dramatically. I think at the beginning, we were a little bit more, we had neglected a few of these principles, and we were in certain situations where it became a bit tougher, or it wasn't, so we forgot about the human being, even ourselves as human beings, so I think these things definitely have found its way into our culture and how we approach things. We want to have relationships. You have to have a friendship, because we invest for years with maybe no monetary compensation in the hope that down the line we get something, and that the artist down the line gets something. You have to get along. It's you're hustling 24/7 on behalf of someone. If I don't believe in that someone, you think I'm gonna go the extra mile?
Yeah.
So it's all of these things, and it's me now fully knowing. I also already knowing Dhruv so well, I know what his decisions would be in a lot of scenarios. I know what he's going for, and again, it's really hard to in a sentence tell you what that is.
Oh no, I
can't. But yeah. So we both are now aligned, and he knows. He also, from my side, has learned the importance of everything I've just shared. Yeah.
I think it's interesting because one thing that stood out the most to me was the idea of that bubble around the artist, right? When it comes to comedy, comics are hyper aware of the business. We are very, very aware of the business.
Wow,
so the conversation that I have with anybody I'm signing is, listen, you're still gonna do 95% of the work.
Yeah, great.
The only way I can make you money is the way this system is rigged. You need to do the work, and you need to get the numbers.
Yeah.
And I'll make the route easier for you.
Yeah.
But I'm not here to tell you what to sound like, and I'm not here to tell you whether. But I'm here to tell you, hey, if you do choose to do this, this is what you can get.
Yeah.
I see it very transactionally now. Earlier, I was idealistic about the scene. Now I feel much more, like you give it what it deserves.
Yeah, for sure. I think we all lose that idealistic view after a few years. You harden a bit, and you have to.
But it's so much different for music, right? It must be so much harder for music, because people are not traditionally used to valuing music as a commodity to pay for only.
For sure, most definitely. I think it is. And there's so many different levels, and this is across the board, but one, obviously the audience, right? Like you said, paying for it and stuff. Two, it's a long-term thing. I think you can't just, you got to commit long-term, and you've got to, I guess, I don't know, a lot of artists don't recognize that or don't see that.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know, I've lost my train of thought. There was a few things I wanted to share on this, but
take your time.
I guess,
Okay.
It's time.
It works. It's okay. I will accept the answer.
I lost my train of thought, but it is different for sure.
So that's the thing, because you have to always take that extra step of sensitizing your musician's audience by saying, hey, you need to pay for this also, bro. Sometimes.
Yeah, true.
And it's increasingly difficult, at least in my experience, to convince audience members the importance that they hold in all of this, because
for sure,
if you don't share the art you love, nobody's going to share it.
For sure.
And that's true. Become as important as getting, whatever $59 from somebody, or whatever YouTube's membership costs.
Yeah, which is just too cheap anyway.
Yeah, $59 minus GST minus YouTube is 18 rupees.
It's ridiculous. Whoever, Steve Jobs or whoever set the price for music online.
Yeah. I mean,
it's ridiculous. It's peanuts. I think, it's crazy that people can't make money off a song or like a body of work.
Yeah.
A song or a record. Like it's art. It's crazy that people can't pay for it and an artist can't survive from sales.
Yeah.
It's stupid.
But
so it has to change, and the price of it has to change. And
I think this is where distribution has really fucked everyone over. No, in the sense that with stand-up also, the only way I make real money is if I sell tickets, and not just like tickets. Like I need to sell 100 plus, 150 plus tickets to. Now when you can distribute stand-up through an OTT or through YouTube instead. The average person sitting at home doesn't value the additional, feel goodness of a live show, even if it's 100 times better than a YouTube. I mean, the difference. You've seen a comedy show live. Same with a music show, right? Like, I mean, I have anxiety, so I can't go to live gigs. I get very scared, so I only go to watch Shashwat. Because I'm serious. I'm not even kidding. It harrows me to go, but I go because it's apna ladka. And for me, like listening to albums has been like how I've explored music all throughout my life. For most people, it's thankfully, at least with kids now growing up in urban centers in India, there was a culture of going to gigs. And the thing is, you don't really, that's why I'm not a musician. Because when you go to a music gig, you're not going to listen to the song. You're going to drink and have a good time. And
a lot of people. Yeah.
And that feels really shitty to me, because even if I go for a gig, I'm in the front listening to the song.
Yeah, for sure.
Like the idea that people talk during a song, that's ridiculous to me.
Yeah.
And there was a question at the end of this. But so how do you etch out income streams for an artist, like in this scenario? Like for me, it's trickles. For comedians, it's trickles. I get a little bit from brand, little bit from YouTube revenue, little bit from writing project, little bit from live shows, and that kind of becomes the overall stream here. But what do musicians do nowadays to make money? I'm asking because I've recorded the album, and now
it's hard. I think like really it's once you reach a point where you have a significant and loyal fan base, then things change, right? Because that fan base then not only, will invest and pay in all of your experiences, but then other people will as well, because they know it comes with, a certain community. But it takes a while to get to that community. That's the long-term thing. Like doing short-term stints just for monetary gain is not worth it always. It's that's why it's really hard in those initial years, because you're really just investing in your future. But I mean, I guess like in terms of revenue, it's really sucky that we've been dependent on live for so long that it's like majority of our income. And I think that this time is great because we are now significant, like we are being able to give time to really look as an industry, like across the world, but also as a company on diversifying. So like you said, there's bits from everywhere. There's sync opportunities, which are quite large. There's compositional work for film and TV. There's certain brand engagements. There's obviously the sale of merchandise and music. I guess whatever online engagements one wants to do and stuff like that. But it's going to take time for it to actually build up to be like a significant competitor to live income. But it should be. It should be. Yeah.
But it sounds like you're juggling so many spinning plates. And I mean those words. They're spinning and you're juggling them at the same time. Because, on top of this entire cycle, there's the artist's intrinsic cycle of when they mature and they peak.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Right. So you're kind of trying to make sure that they're positioned to kind of pop whenever they're actually going to peak, as opposed to... So then,
and that's also go.
What's the conversation at halftime?
It's hard to be patient. Like it's a lot of time with the artists as well. Like everyone gets restless and maybe can't see the longer vision, and it's really. That's also why a lot of artists sell their rights out really early for like $1,000 or, because, in the immediate, it's tough. There's not much money coming in. You can't see where it's going to go. A lot of artists can be really insecure about their craft, which is normal. We're all vulnerable, and it's not just business, it's a personal expression. The vulnerability is valid.
Yeah.
So how do we give them a little bit of comfort? How do we show them our faith and our belief? Why are we here? There's a reason why we're here as well. We see the long-term vision. It's about communicating that and getting them to understand that. And I think like Bulu, for example, he even said on your podcast, right? It's important sometimes to take time and wait.
Yeah.
Right?
Or just for someone to say no.
Or for someone to say no. And when I heard him say that, I was like, yay!
I was also so proud of him. I have no idea.
Because it's true. Like it takes a while to get there, but you got to have faith. You got to be able to see what it's going to be down the line. And the more you do it, the more you're able to gauge what that is. And that's where, like I say, like it's this unwavering knowing with the artists we work with that they're going to reach a certain place. We don't have a doubt. There is no fear. We know that it will happen. And that's why we only work with people where we do have that full belief.
Yeah.
But it's hard because, it's constantly just talking about it, having those discussions. There's ups and downs with it. It's even for us as a management team, we have our moments,
So now coming to the crux of this episode, how do I release this album I recorded?
Okay.
Because are you looking to manage a dynamic
You have to ask Dhruv.
Okay. Shit, I should have sent the songs to Dhruv to listen to. Is it?
No. I think, no. How do you release it?
Yeah, so first off, we are going to raise the money to make it, which is only lacking. But because, the conversation with Shashwat was like, oh, you need to wait at least a year before you release this. And that was like, that made no sense to me. I was like, well, I just made it. I might be dead in a year. I don't think I'm around that long.
Once it's ready, right? Like once it's ready, what is it to you, the record?
It is just that. It is a record. It is, no, I mean it. Like, if I were to, like, COVID made me confront mortality more than usual.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm somebody who's already suicidal. So, I consider myself as a maybe on most RSVPs. So I felt like this might be it. Like, I don't know if I make it out of this. And if I don't make it out of this, there'll be a record of the work that I've done, and the things that the thoughts and the things I wanted to say to people. A lot of it is on video. But none of the music is taped. And I haven't written a single song which I've actually seen through to its final auditory creative vision. So I felt really guilty about that. So I felt like, and then Shashwat asked at the right time, I think. And so that's why this was made, right? Like it needs to, because it needs to, like those things had to be said out loud in that way once at least.
So when you say, so just do what you want with it then. What's your goal with releasing it? Is it just personal, or is it you want to become an artist?
I don't think I can tour it. But that's the thing, that I have no interest in being a musician that plays live. My joy is in, like, I'm a music lover, so I like to listen to it. And then the making of the songs is not a choice. It's because you have all this shit in your head that,
for sure.
That doesn't have a joke before or after.
So
it can't go on stage and for a like comedy show. So it has to be a song. And and you've heard the songs,
They're nice.
Right. And you can't say those things. Thank you so I'm blushing.
They're really nice. They're really nice songs.
But they're very deeply personal. In fact, the first time I sang Water Life live was at an open mic in Mumbai. And that was the last time that I ever played music without a comedy context ever in my life. Because I was like, I'm singing you this very personal thing, but you are watching IPL. And I don't want that for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
It really broke me.
For sure. But I don't know, like I think you can come up with like a marketing plan or a release plan or all of this. And I can help you with it if you want.
No, how do I get Pagal Haina to sign me now? Is the true? I'm going to take off the mask. There is no sheep here. This is. It's like a reverse. I'm kidding. You don't have to answer that.
Yeah,
you can
cool.
pass. You're allowed to say pass.
No, but I think if it's personal, then just do what feels right for you with it.
Yeah.
Just let people experience it,
Yeah.
and in whatever way you want to share it, just do it. It's not like it's just one part of you. It's not like it's like this career path that you're looking to pursue.
Oh yeah. Yeah. But I mean, I don't see it as I feel like the music is I'll keep making music. That's the one thing I've realized.
Yeah, good.
Because I have enough. Because we went into this album with enough songs for 2-3 albums.
Yeah, wow.
So it was always a choice of, we're not gonna put this on the record because we'll save it for the next one. So I mean, now I feel like I'm gonna wait for Shashwat to get free again.
But yeah, you've got to also sometimes also about giving it time is you've just got to sometimes see where things go. Like right now, you might not have clarity on what the music side of you is about.
Yeah.
So put it out and just see, don't overthink it. Let it have its life and keep going with your music, and maybe more clarity will come as and when, the path, keeps developing.
That's such a great answer that was. Thank you. I feels like you've said this to a lot of musicians.
No, but
No, go ahead.
No, that's it. Yeah, I don't have anything.
I want to listen to you talk. I am having a great time. I enjoy people's voices.
Yeah, no, I guess sometimes in the beginning, certain artists just want to release things certain ways, and, it can be a bit different or a bit more minimal or, not so campaigny or planny and stuff. You've also got to honor that because, what we're trying to do is also find what their story is and what their path is or who they are and how they want to do it. We want to bring our input to it, but we want it to align to who they are. So understanding who they are is really important, but also giving them a little bit of freedom, especially at the beginning, to kind of do things a certain way. And then also when you're starting out as well, like I said, you don't really know what the audience is or the potential is always.
Yeah.
So, experimenting a bit and doing a few different things, and then slowly but surely the path becomes clearer and clearer.
Earlier it was so much more difficult though when you were a non-Hindi artist in India or a non-regional language artist in India. Do you feel like that's changed for the good and for good as well? That now with Peter Cat, that was the first thing that I think I realized as somebody on the fringes of all of this, you could get signed by somebody abroad. Yeah. I didn't think we could do that. I didn't think anyone outside wanted to listen to what we're making here.
Yeah, it's great actually. That we're seeing more examples of that. There's now a handful of independent artists in India who have global representation.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And I think streaming has helped in that regard because we also now get a lot of calls and emails from people overseas who have discovered our artists.
Right.
We're like, wow, my God, because they're not just Indian, there is still that stereotype of an Indian artist, when you're overseas, that are they Bollywood or classical or whatnot?
Yeah.
But no, they're just an artist who is Indian. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
So streaming has helped in that way because a lot of people, through Spotify and stuff are actually discovering the immense amount of talent here.
And it's weird, no? Because on some level, online streaming of music has kind of ruined it. And on some level, it's...
Yeah, it is. It's true. It is weird. It's it's in between. It's it has ruined it in the sense that people don't buy and you make less and this and that. But then if you have really high streaming numbers, you can still make, a fair amount. But, you've got to get into the millions and more.
Right.
And that takes a lot of time. And again, the prices that are set for the music are too low, and all of that. But then at the same time, music discovery, especially the exposure, the data, interaction, all of that is an advantage, most certainly. I hope we can find a place for everything, and it'd be slightly fairer, or yeah.
I don't think you remember the time Wolfpack released an album full of silence to raise money for their tour.
I don't remember. No.
I don't know why more people don't know this story. So apparently they released an album called ZZZ or something. It was just 45 minutes of silence.
Wow.
And they told their fans to just keep it on at night every night before they sleep.
Oh wow. That's insane. How much did they raise?
A few thousand, enough to go on tour for some 13 cities or something.
That's insane.
I know. I'm just like,
but that's what I'm saying. Fan base. Right? That's it. If you Dhruv and I saw a post yesterday he shared with me, 1 fan a day. Right?
Yeah.
If you can get 1 loyal fan a day. Sometimes people are like, oh, there was nobody there at that gig. But if there was 5 people and 2 were converted to loyal fans, that's it. And we also, like, that's why we have a strong mailing list mindset. We've been doing that for 10 years because, you know, we all always say that it's like, you know, social media is for rent. You know, Facebook, Instagram shut down. Goodbye, community.
Yeah.
You're gone. Like, how do I find those people? Well, you don't. So mailing list is like if someone's willing to join, like your fan club or your community or your patrons. If people are willing to join and commit, and that community, they're the people who, ultimately you release silence, they buy it.
I'm very wow.
It's brands are like, yay, I'll have a bite of that.
I love that. I love it when somebody can rig the game. No, like I'm proud of those people.
But that's because they're invested in you. They're not. It goes beyond then the music, right? It's then like we're invested in the culture that the artist creates. We're invested in who they are as people. It then goes beyond the actual product. It becomes something bigger. But
that's where it's scary also, right? Because like how much of this is who you are and how much of this is who you should be to get XYZ. You know what I mean? That is something I constantly grapple with. I don't know if your artists grapple with that as much. I'm sure they would on some level, right? Because like you know what you can do and you know the results, and then you're like, but that's not honest to myself at all.
So some people, like most of the artists we work with, won't do anything that's not honest to them. Like hands down. Really? They don't care. Some of them who are more commercially driven have accepted the fact that there's going to be some things that they do which are their honest expression. Some things which are honest, but they're kind of tweaked to also be commercially
viable.
And they have that awareness and they're okay with it. They just accept it. But it's not like they're compromising on the art. They just tailor they just know.
But that's the thing. Is it still art if it's for Whirlpool? You know.
I guess you can. I think. It's hard. I guess I'm not an artist, so it would be hard to juggle that. But it's not like I've ever listened to any of it and felt like any of it lacked because of commercial reasons, or any of it compromised because of commercial reasons. I just think it's like. Like maybe
it's like the Sistine Chapel argument, right? Like it might have been paid for by church, and he might have not had an option to not paint it, but he fucking did a great job of the Sistine Chapel, man.
It's like, for example, the decision English or Hindi. Now Hindi is a better commercial choice. But that doesn't mean that what I write and what I sing isn't going to be as beautiful or as creative or compromised because it's in that language.
Yeah, absolutely.
It just means if you're good enough in both and you can do both, maybe it just means that it's something that will reach more people, but you can still do the art justice. It's a hard balance though, But and that's the thing with most of the artists, they're not willing to compromise, and yet it's a slow burn. Right? And we're not willing to compromise. We're probably even more or just as hardcore about that honest expression as possible. But monetarily and commercially, you just have to wait.
Okay, this is my last question.
Okay.
I can. I don't know if you're getting impatient,
No, I'm
but
not.
I would. It's okay if you are also because it's been an hour and a half now.
Well,
uh,
it's been
but
nice
okay.
talking to you. You're a
Hey,
good talker.
likewise, man. It's so great.
Yeah.
You have such insight. I'm very happy. I'm sick and I'm this happy, so I'm in a good place. So, what music do you listen to, Lucy Peters?
I knew you were going to ask me this. I just knew you were going to ask me this. So, to be perfectly honest, I don't listen to a lot.
You only
because
listen to Bhojpuri remixes. Be honest.
I don't even know what that is.
Arey yaar. Okay, fine.
So, no, perfectly honest, like when I have free time, I like silence. And I'm kind of even Dhruv and I work differently. He works to music, I work in silence. I like stillness in my mind, so I don't listen to a lot. But yeah, I grew up listening to hip hop and R&B and all of that stuff. So that was like growing up, like Tupac and all of that.
Oh wow,
Biggie and-
Australian bubs. Man, listen to some Tupac. You must have related so hard.
People get really surprised and stuff, but no, now there's there's tons of great artists. There's always music playing, around and stuff like
Yeah.
Big Thief and Head Run and all of these, I really, really love. So Novo Amor is an artist I really love. Have you heard of him?
No, but I was just hoping you would say AC/DC at some point because you're Australian. But clearly, there is no patriotism left.
There is none.
This girl.
My mum would be she'd be like, Lucy, I've lost you.
Hey, man, thank you so much for doing this. This has been absolutely wonderful.
Thank you so much. You're a great person. And,
That nobody has ever said that to me in this podcast, by the way.
no, but
This
it's
is the
true
first
because
time.
it's nice. You're very open. It's been lovely talking to you. This is my first podcast, so I really enjoyed it.
I hope you do more because people should get to know you more because you should
Thank
be
you.
known more. This is, same thing happened with Comedy Factory with Manan and Vidya. They started Comedy Factory together. Nobody talks to freaking Vidya, dude. Don't let history sideline you.
Yeah. No, I think like Dhruv and I have only both just started doing podcasts. I think he did his first 3 like in pandemic and he just can't listen to them. He's like, I just like, but we're both like, this is the thing also with us and Pagal Haina is that you put your artist first all the time, right? So it's always, Pagal Haina's always been at the back.
Yeah.
It's always been like, how can we propel the artists? People want to interview us. We're like, oh, we don't have time. We're working on this campaign. But now we're starting to talk more, share more.
Yeah, it's important, man, because you're an artist too, except
It's
your
true.
art is people.
Yeah, it's so true. Thank you.
Not at all, man. I'm glad. I'm looking forward to DT and I'm looking forward to Dhruv also. Dhruv, I have major plans. I'm going to sidetrack the entire episode and talk about cricket.
Yeah, please do. You'll get some. It'll be great. You'll have some fun conversations. Yeah.
I'm really excited. Thank you so much for doing this. If you're watching this or listening to this, thank you so much for watching and or listening to this. We are coming to the end of this season of I was going to say Vartalab, guys. Oof, that was close. That podcast is dead. Coming to the end of the season for Aakash and Friends. Season 2 details will be out soon. Make sure you've joined the Discord if you're a patron. If you're not a patron, join the Discord. If you're just chilling, join the Discord. I'm telling you, come there because there I don't have to pay Facebook or YouTube money to actually reach you. So come there. Okay, guys. Thank you for watching. My name is Aakash. This has been Lucy Peters on AMF. Okay, bye.